short and sweet. One thing worth noticing is these knowledge systems, Hatha Yoga, what Shari was doing, or, for example, Bhakti, or Patanjali Yoga, or Tantra, or Advaita. They are very different from each other, and they have their strengths. But notice that they, when you learn them traditionally, all of them say, or all of them claim that they are all meant to lead you to enlightenment. That's the beauty of these knowledge systems which come from India, that they are holistic, and the goal is ultimately enlightenment. So yoga is very strong when it gives you physical and mental well-being. That's its direct benefit. But the purpose is enlightenment. Bhakti, devotional, full of joy. But the purpose is enlightenment. Even in India, whether if you practice Ayurveda, or you are learning classical Indian music or even dance, the guru will teach you the purpose is enlightenment, ultimately. So all of these vidyas or knowledge systems are at their core spiritual. And Advaita Vedanta is just that. It takes you straight to enlightenment. The purpose of it is enlightenment. Now, we were talking about disentangling ourselves from the body-mind. Not physically. You can't use forceps to pull the Atman out of the body-mind, but we distinguish in our understanding what I am and what I am not. So how do we do that? Advaita Vedanta does it through reasoning and experience. So notice something in your already available experience and use reasoning to see that I am not it. Notice, for example, the body has attributes, and attributes belong to things. So whatever has attributes belongs to a thing, it can't belong to me. So the body has attributes, and therefore I am not the body. So what I am, the pure awareness, it can't have attributes. Another argument which we used was the body is material. Some combination and modification of the 5 elements. And I am not material. So I can't be the body. Another argument used was the body is seen, experienced, drishyam. I am the seer, the experiencer, drashta. Drashta and drishyam, the seer and the seen, they cannot be the same reality. So since I experience the body, therefore I am not the body. Now, moving on. When we hear this, our reaction would be, yes, but I never said that I'm literally a bundle of flesh and bones and blood. What I mean is, here is this living body, and in this body, I am some kind of an embodied mind, a person. So am I a mind? How do you extricate yourself from the mind? Same arguments, exactly the same arguments which we used for the body. Go to verse number 16 in this book, Vakyavritti. Evam indriya dringnaham indriyani iti nischa. Evam indriya dringnaham indriyani iti nischinu. Mano buddhis tatha prano naham ityavadharaya. Thus ascertain that you, the seer of the senses, are not the senses themselves, and know for certain that you are neither the mind, nor the intellect, nor the vital force. All right. So just as the physical body I am not, what else do we find in this body-mind complex? When we look a little more subtly inwards, this body is pervaded by prana. There is an important concept in Indian knowledge systems, that there's a life force which enlivens this body. This prana flowing through this physical body makes it a living body. In fact, disease from Ayurveda perspective also is not actually in the physical body. It's some imbalance, some kind of problem in the pranic body. And that is what is treated in Ayurveda. So this prana, that which makes me living, am I that prana? And it says, we are not that prana. Just the way you examine the physical body and found it to be not you. Similarly, examine the pranic body. Does it have attributes? Yes, it does. The pranic body is very easily detected by the breathing. You breathe in, breathe out. So breathing is like the tip of the iceberg, which is most evident about the pranic body. So the pranic body has attributes. Sometimes you feel hungry, sometimes you feel satiated, sometimes you feel energetic, sometimes you feel tired, sometimes you are healthy, you have strong appetite, sometimes you feel sick and you don't feel like eating anything. All of these are the surges, the tidal waves of prana moving in and through the body. And these are attributes of the pranic body. And so if it has attributes, then I am not it. Attributes belong to a thing. Therefore, the pranic body is a thing. I'm not a thing. Then the second argument which we saw, that was, is it made of matter? Yes, life is also made of matter. The 5 elements, they combine to make the pranic body. So I am not made of matter. Therefore, I cannot be the pranic body. And then a seer and the seen. Just like the body, is the pranic body seen? It's not seen physically, but it's evident to you when you put attention to it. In fact, the whole of the mindfulness meditation is what? Is meditation on breath. I mean, it's not on breath actually, but you use the breath as an anchor. Breathing in, I'm aware of breathing in. Breathing out, I'm aware of breathing out. But what does Vedanta say there? Then note that breathing, which is a characteristic of prana, that is observable. We say, yes, it's observable. So in that case, it is something seen. It is something objective. I am the one who is aware of it. I am not it. Just as I would be aware of a pot on the table here, I'm aware of the breath. I'm aware of prana. Since I'm aware of prana, I am not prana. The prana is there, but I am not prana. I am the experiencer of prana. Therefore, I am not the pranic body for these reasons, for these observations. We go deeper. If I am not the physical body, if I'm not the pranic body, what's deeper? What's left? Well, the mind. We say the mind. Yes, I am the mind. I am thoughts and ideas and feelings and opinions and memories and desires and the sense of ego. All of this, I am this. Well, subjected to the same tests. Does it have characteristics, attributes? It does. Is it something that is made of matter? According to Vedanta or Sankhya, even the mind is made of matter. And then is it something observable? That is, do you experience the movements of your mind? Yes, you do. Therefore, because it has attributes, because it is material, because it is observable, I am not the mind. I am the observer who is not material, who does not have attributes. Therefore, I, the self, the real self, cannot be the mind. And then Vedanta makes even further distinction in the mind, not just the thoughts and feelings, but the capacity to understand, which is called buddhi or vijnana, which we are using now. Am I that? Am I intelligence? And actually, we closely identify ourselves with intelligence, the capacity to understand, comprehend. But even that has characteristics, attributes of at least of being sharp or dull, of getting it or not getting it. It is material also. It's built up of subtle matter, and it is observable. Even the intellect is observable. We all have the experience of, as kids, working on a math problem or something and struggling I'm not getting it. Next moment I say, I got it. I cracked the problem. I understood. From not understanding to understanding, it was observed. That is the intellect. So the intellect too has attributes. It is made of matter, subtle matter, and it is observable, experienceable. I am the observer. I am not material, and I do not have attributes. Therefore, I cannot be the intellect, the real I. Remember, when I say real I and apparent I means the direct meaning of the word you or I. What is the direct meaning? Body, mind. And when I say the real I mean the implied meaning of the word I or you, which we called in Sanskrit lakshyartha, implied meaning. So the real I is not the intellect either. And that's what he has said in this this verse. Evam, in this way, the prana and the sensory system, I am not. The mind, I am not. And the intellect, I am not. So I am the witness of all of these. Shankaracharya's famous hymn, which is very popular in Vedanta circles, and there's six stanzas on Nirvana. Nirvana Shatakam. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am not the ego. I am not memory. Then what am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am of the nature of consciousness. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. I'm nature of consciousness, bliss. So this is verse 16. Now, one might have this question, you're just playing with words. I never said I'm just the body or just prana. What I mean is I am this complex. We might argue this way. There's physical body, there is life, and there is mind, and there is memory, and there is ego, and there is the mind and the intellect. All of it together I am, not just a body or just a thought mind or just an ego or intellect. So you're just fooling me by separating these parts and saying you're not this part or that part. I am all of it together. And then, so the answer comes. The answer is, again, a strong nope. You are not. If one of those things in the, it's like saying you take a bunch of things, put it on a table, and you say, I am not this thing, I'm not this thing, I'm not this thing. And then you come in and say, if you take all those things together, then I am. No. If each individually, those things are objects to your consciousness, all of these things together also will be an object to consciousness. So individually, I am not any of those things. You make a bunch of those things, I'm still not. They're just a bunch of things. Yeah. If I am not one thing, we put 10 things together, I still won't be any those 10 things together. Now that's the answer given here. 17. Sanghatopi tatha naham iti drishya vilakshanam drashtaram anumanena nipunam sampradharaya. Convince yourself that you are also not the combination of the gross and the subtle bodies, and ascertain accurately by means of inference that you, the seer, are quite distinct from the seeing. Okay, Sanghata means combination. This we might be tempted to say, I am a living body-mind system. Put it all together, I am that. Not individually, I agree with you. I'm not just a body or just a mind, disembodied mind or something. Put it all together, I am that. No, you are not. All the arguments which apply against them individually, they apply to the entire body-mind system. Those who have done the 5 sheath analysis, Pancha Kosha Viveka, you will recall that what we did just now is actually the Pancha Kosha Viveka, 5 sheath analysis. What is the 5 sheath analysis? The physical sheath, physical body, Annamaya Kosha, that which is made of food. And then the subtle, the pranic body, Pranamaya Kosha, which is also a product of food actually, which is sustained by food. And then the Manomaya Kosha, the mind sheath, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect sheath. And beyond that is the Anandamaya, the bliss sheath or the blissful sheath, which is the causal body actually. None of them, I am none of them. They all have attributes. They all are material of some sort or the other. And I am their observer. They are observed. Therefore, I am none of them individually. And I'm none of them, and I'm not all of them combined also. Just as you put all those things together on a table and say, I'm all of them together. No, you are not. And then he says, Drashtaram anumanena nipunam sampradhara. Nipunam means skillfully. Look upon what you thought you were till now. When you say I, what I instinctively identify myself with, this, skillfully analyze this and see that you are not this. It's there, but you are not it. You're not limited to it. You're using it. Just like you're in a car, you can drive it without actually saying, I am the car. So in the same way, what is this skill? what we did just now, that it's a thing, it's an object. I'm not an object. All objects appear to me. I'm the subject. There's a beautiful definition of an object which I like. I've been repeating it often. It's the philosopher Arindam Chakravarti. He coined it. He's a way with words, so he coined it just like that. How do you define an object? An object is anything that objects to your consciousness. An object is anything that objects to your consciousness. Just think of consciousness as a field spreading out, and then it runs up against an object, like a pot or something. And when it runs up against an object, you have an experience. I see a pot. So it's as if the pot is resisting your consciousness, and then you experience the pot. So an object is anything that objects to your consciousness. All these things, the body, the prana, the mind, even the intellect, all of them are objects. They're material. They're made of matter. The ancient cosmology of space and air and fire and water and earth, or the modern science, which talks about various elements. These are made of matter. And then I am not matter. I am that which experiences matter. Another thing would be that these have attributes and I don't have attributes. So these are the ways of seeing, which we just use those techniques. Another thing would be all of these are changeful. The physical body is changeful. The prana is changeful. The mind is changeful, continuously changing. So many thoughts, feelings, emotions are rushing through our minds. The intellect is changeful. We did not understand other things. Some things we now understand them. Other things which we understood, now we know them to be wrong. So the intellect is also changing. So all of these are changeful. They come and go. They transform themselves. I am that which experiences all of them. So I am not changeful, at least not in that sense. So therefore, I cannot be these material things, these objects, these things with attribute, these continuously changeful components. I am not them. I am not the combination of all of them also. I am the witness of all of these. In this way, you ascertain that I am the witness. He says, drashtaram, you are the drashta. And in this way, reasoning in this way, not just reasoning. As I mentioned earlier, you have to do two things. Reason and understand the reasoning here, so that your intellect says, yes, this is reasonable. And then see that it's a fact. It's not just something that sort of information in my head. I should see it as a fact, that yes, this is a thing with attributes. This is an object. This is material. This is changing. I can see it. It's not just an argument. It's a fact. And I am the unchanging, non-material, non-objective experiencer of this entity, body, mind. I'm quoting from another one here. Let me see. How am I doing for time? Yeah, we have time. I can take a little more time. I'm going to quote from verse number 22 of this book. Again, you don't have to have the book. I'll translate everything. Verse number 22. Swapna jagarite suptim bhava bhavo dhyam tatha yo vitya vikriya sakshat soham ityavadharaya. It says, make sure that you are the changeless self immediately cognized, that illumines the three states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as the appearance and the disappearance of the intellect and its modifications. Okay. This refers to another method of finding out who am I, determining the meaning of the word Twam, you. It's called the method of the three states. It's one of the main methods used in Vedanta. Notice our day, the complete day, we have these three experiences: the experience of waking, the experience of dreaming, and the experience of deep sleep. Now, normally, we take this waking to be the reality. We said what we see in this waking world, and I, this person, that's what we are. And I've fallen asleep, and something is going on in my brain, and I'm dreaming. And then that stops too. So these are dreaming and deep sleep, and I wake up back into the real world again. But Vedanta says, consider the waking state. What happens in the waking state? It is this, you are this awareness through the mind and this body, you're experiencing a material world out there. This is called a waking state. And then you fall asleep and you don't experience the external world. The body has gone to sleep. The senses are asleep. So you don't experience the body or the external world. You don't even experience the bed on which you are lying, let alone your body or the world. But in our minds, there are like virtual worlds, dream worlds are generated by the minds. And in those dream worlds too, there are things to be seen. You see things, you hear. It's somewhat like our waking world. And you are there as a subject. You, the one in the waking world, you are lying down and sleeping on a bed. But in the dream world, you are there as a person. You are interacting with other people, all of which is being imagined in the dream, is being generated in the dream. So in the dream world, in the mind, you identify with a body produced in the dream world, experiencing a world which is your dream world. But it's all in the mind, not through the senses, not contacting an external world. And then, how do you know this? This you know only after waking up. Of course, in the dream, you don't know this. And then that also stops. We enter into deep sleep, where there is no waking person interacting with the waking world, no dreaming going on, just blank. Everything stops. There's nothing to be seen, nothing to be dreamt of, no seer or dreamer there, just a uniform blankness, no sense of the progress of time, no sense of space. And then you wake up from it into another dream or a waking world. Now, this is just a narration of what we experience. Now, what Vedanta wants to say is, notice, the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep appear to whom? To you. It is, nobody doubts it. We all say, I was awake, I fell asleep, and I dreamt, and I was in deep sleep, so relaxed and nice, and I woke up into this waking world, that one I. Yet that one I cannot be the I of the waking or the I of the dreaming. And of course, in deep sleep, there's no sense of I. The I of the waking, the person in the waking world has now laid down on the bed and is sleeping. But the I of the dreaming is maybe walking around and talking with people and enjoying a cup of tea with friends. So they're like two different individuals. And yet both of them are appearing to me. I am experiencing both. What is that one background consciousness to which appears the waker and the waking world, the dreamer and the dream world, and the blankness of deep sleep? What is that one background consciousness? So that one background consciousness is called the fourth in the Upanishads in Vedanta. 1, waker. 2, dreamer. 3, the deep sleeper. 4th, consciousness. Now, it's not that you enter into another kind of state apart from the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, some other extraordinary state, and you call it the 4th. Rather, it is that which is in the background of all three. I love the example of gold and the ornaments. It's the same gold, and it's made into a necklace. It has a particular form. You give it a name, necklace, and you put it on your neck. But it can be melted and then fashioned into a bracelet. Same gold, same material. Now you call it a bracelet. It looks like this, and you put it on your wrist. Then you can melt it and make it into a tiara. And now it's called a tiara. You put it on your head, and I'd look pretty silly if I put a tiara on my bald head. But anyway, and then it has a name and a form and a particular place you use it on. But it's the same thing. And what Advaita Vedanta wants to say, it's pretty, not just that you are the one consciousness in waking, dreaming, deep sleep, but even more amazing, it says it is the same consciousness which in the waking world appears as you, the waker, and your entire world. It's not just your consciousness and there is a world which you're experiencing. No, the underlying consciousness appears as waker and waker's world. Then it appears as dreamer and dreamer's world. Then it appears or does not appear, and it's a blankness. But all three are appearances and disappearances in the same consciousness, just as a bracelet and a necklace and a tiara are appearances and disappearances in the same gold. The same gold is appearing in all these ways. That one underlying consciousness, that fourth, which is actually not a fourth, it's the only one which is appearing as three. That one you are. What we do is, I, the consciousness, identified with this waking, the mind which is awake, and with the body, and experiencing a so-called external world, I think this is who I am. And I dismiss the dream, I totally dismiss the deep sleep. But Vedanta says, for a comprehensive insight into who you are, you need to take your entire experience. Your entire experience is waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And that's what we experience. A physical world, a subtle world in the mind, and what is called a causal world, a deep sleep world, which is like the hibernation of a computer, for example. Everything is there, but it's blank for the time being. When you press a switch, it all comes out. Similarly, in deep sleep, it's not that it's nothing. Everything is there, but not manifest. Like a seed, it's there. You are the witness of all of it. And all of it is not apart from you. It's within you, or it's you alone who's appearing as all of it. So this is a very powerful insight. Again, it points to the same thing. You are consciousness. You are awareness. So now we have an answer to the question which we started with. We want to know the meaning of a word. What is the word? Twam. It means you. Why do you want to know that? Because it's part of the sentence, you are that. And we want to know what's the meaning of you and what's the meaning of that. So tat twam asi. Twam, you. And we found that the word you has two meanings. One an apparent meaning and one the real meaning. One a direct meaning and the implied meaning. The direct meaning or the apparent meaning is this body mind, this person, this Sarvapriyananda Swami. This is the meaning of the word you or I. And when you inquire into it, when you analyze it using the ways that Vedanta has shown, then you begin to see that this body-mind complex is not I. So neither is it the body, nor is it the mind, not even the intellect, not the prana. None of this. I am the one non-object, pure subject, the seer, the experiencer, awareness. That's who I am. That's the implied meaning of the word you. So the word you, Twam, has two meanings. This what is called vachyartha in Sanskrit, literal meaning, direct meaning, and lakshyartha, implied meaning. We are interested in that implied meaning. We have to keep these in mind, the direct meaning and the implied meaning, and then we will go on to the next part of the discussion tomorrow, where we are going to inquire into the meaning of the word that. The Sanskrit word tat and the English that are pretty close. It just means you are that. So what is the meaning of that? That we will inquire tomorrow. I mean, all this sounds a little confusing, but it's just a question is, who am I? That's what we did today. Good. I'll open it up for questions if there are any.
Swami, with the movie example, the screen has been compared to Brahman. Are the light and the movie projector comparable to Maya?
Yes. The movie projector is comparable to Maya. Now, in a movie example, there is a screen and the light is separate and the movie projector is separate and the audience is separate. So some part of that example really doesn't fit. I'll adapt that example. Michael Singer, it's one of the most popular books on meditation. It's called The Untethered Soul. If you Google it, top 10 books on meditation, you'll find Untethered Soul. A very nice book. There he gives this example. He says, suppose you go to a movie hall and everything is dark and you have this big, nice, what is called IMAX or something like that. Very overwhelming experience, visual and auditory experience. You don't see the audience, you can't even see yourself, and it bombards your senses. It's powerful. Now you go a little further. It's not just light and sound. Let's say it's movement too. Some movie theaters have, the seat vibrates. There's a little bit of movement in the seat. They have done these things in movie theaters. So in the movie, the car is going and you feel actually you're traveling with the car. You feel the motion also. And some have gone even further. They have put you in virtual reality, like a 3D glasses they put on you, and you feel immersed in a virtual environment. It's not just the screen in front of you. You look around, you look up, you look down, you look around you. You will see the world just as if you are here and looking at this world like this. You look like that. You're immersed in a 3-dimensional world, and there is movement. If you touch something, there was something called haptic sensors. It's not just an image out there. If you go and touch it, you will feel pressure on your finger pads as if you are touching something soft, hard, warm, cold. All those things will be provided. The impulses will be provided to your fingers. And technology is already available. In fact, they go too far sometimes. In New Delhi, I saw this virtual reality presentation of the story of Swami Vivekananda when he goes to the southern tip of India, and then there's the Indian Ocean there. He jumps into it and swims a little further out. There's a rock on which he goes and meditates. So they have done a virtual reality presentation of that. They'll put you on glasses and put you on a chair. And when you see that, it's like there's a roaring ocean, and you see Vivekananda standing next to you, and then he jumps and you follow him and you fall into the water. Not only that, you suddenly feel wet because they spray you with water. There are nozzles. I think that's going a little too far. So you feel this burst of water on your face. And then you go in, there's the roaring sound of the waves and so on and so forth. Now imagine, Michael Singer says, imagine you are in such a movie. Not only that, you have all your 5 senses have now been taken over. What you are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, even tasting, suppose. All of that is now provided by the virtual environment. Next, suppose they enter into your mind, they block out your memories of who you are, and they put in the memories of the character. So you see the hero in the movie. Now you feel you're that guy. You've forgotten, I am this guy sitting in a movie theater watching a movie. I feel I'm this guy. This is the world I'm living in. And then you engage with other people in that world. And then Michael Singer says, that's exactly what is going on with us. The Advaita Vedanta says, we have been put into this virtual world of Maya, where we are given sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. We're given thoughts, memories, personality, desires. All of these are objects. And and a sense of ego, which makes me appropriate all of them, put them together and say, I am this. You are not. You are the awareness to which it is appearing. So this is what's going on. This is a better example than just a plain old movie theater. It would be overwhelming. You totally forget who you are. You would be completely immersed in the joys and sorrows of the character, the virtual character in that multi-dimensional movie. I have told this story often that I was in the mountains and I met this monk who had never seen television earlier. And he told us that once a TV crew came to the Himalayas, to Gangotri, to take a picture of the Ganga there. And because the Swami had not seen TV earlier, they did a demonstration for him. They put a television, they cranked up a generator, they pointed the camera at the river. And the monk said, monks, we were all gathered around him. And I saw it all. I saw the Ganga in that box. I saw the Ganga. I heard the gurgling sound of the water and the rushing river. And I said to that gentleman, sir, can you give me a glass of Ganga water from this box? And that man, he laughed and he said, oh, Swami, it just looks like that. There's nothing there. And then he looked at us, that Swami. He was very old by that time we met him. He looked at us and he said, and so monks, so it is. It just looks like this. There is nothing there. He did a sweep with his hands and you see the towering mountains, the forests, the glaciers running down and the river far below you. So there, He says it just looks like this. What does he mean? Does he mean there are no mountains or rivers? There are. But deeper than that, the reality of all of them is this Brahman, this existence, consciousness, bliss, which is appearing in this way. Yeah, that's the real import of the movie example.
How does realization of Brahman help us in our day-to-day decision-making in Maya?
Yes, it does. If you notice one thing, right now, what we have done so far, this itself will show you how it is helpful. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the awareness to which the body-mind appears. Now just notice this awareness by itself, without any reference to the world, without any reference to the body, without any reference to my memories, what I'm seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, without any reference to the person that I think I am, just the awareness itself. Does it have any problems? You'll say no. By itself, the awareness doesn't have any problems. When you're aware of the mind, I might have mental problems. When I'm aware of the mind and the body, I might have physical problems. When I'm aware of the mind and the body and my bank balance, I might have financial problems. But the awareness by itself doesn't have any problems. Can the awareness get sick? No. You can be aware of sickness in the body, but the awareness itself doesn't get sick. Can the awareness have pain? So of course, that's what aware pain is. No. You can be aware of pain in the body. You can be aware of pain in the mind. But the awareness is neither mind nor body. It cannot have pain. In fact, pain is revealed by it, but it does not have pain. It is awareness. Can the awareness die? No, because the body dies, not awareness. What problem does the awareness do you have as awareness? None. And Vedanta says, even now, as awareness, in which mind and body and world are revealed, you really, in that ultimate sense, you really don't have any problem. Now, once you do not have, once you see that about yourself, that's what we truly are. Now, when I come back to the mind and the body and the world, which appears in awareness, my reactions to everything in this world of appearance will be very calm. It will be what appears to be a huge problem, I will not be shaken. What appears to be tremendously attractive, you just know it's part of the movie. You are not really tempted by it. Krishna says this to Arjuna. What do you gain if you become enlightened? He says, Dukkeshu anudvigna mana sukheshu vigata priya. In the midst of sorrow, you will not be shaken. And in what seems to be terribly attractive in this world, you will not be tempted, you will not be pulled by it. You know you are ever fulfilled. As awareness, you need nothing. Now, in this situation, then, how will you deal with the world? Much, much better. Much better. We will not be scared. We will not be anxious. What can I be scared of? What is it that we have to be anxious about? What can destroy us? What can damage us? What can trouble us? Nothing. There won't be anybody you'll hate, because everybody is that one awareness alone. They are literally, they're not just, your brothers and sisters. They are you. Whom will you hate there? Whom will you dislike? Even the most troublesome person. It's the same awareness filtered through a mind which is troubled, which makes it a troublesome person, a mentally ill person, or an annoying person. Awareness is not troubled. Now, having known this, being serene, unshaken by sorrow, notice Krishna does not say that the sorrow will not come. In the lives of all enlightened people, what gives sorrow to everyone, that those things happen. Illness comes, opposition comes, trials and tribulations come. But they deal with it in an entirely different manner than what we would ordinarily. We react with fear and anxiety and aggression or terror. We react with all these emotional overtones to our reactions. Our decision making, in practical life, in daily life, our decision making is guided by the the deeply faulty understanding that I'm body-mind. And that's why I'm so scared all the time. But when I know I'm not body-mind, this little personal factors don't enter into my calculations. This is sort of an abstract way of describing it. If you want to know how it is implemented in our lives, how it is practical, best way is to look at, people you would consider to be enlightened. How do they live in the midst of? I look at somebody, especially like Sharada Devi. In contrast to Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna led an extraordinary life of mystical visions and constant teaching, a kind of superhuman life, not available to most of us. Vivekananda too was a world teacher. But Ma Sharada, while being extraordinary and being a world teacher, lived the most quotidian of lives, the most commonplace of lives. She cooked and cleaned and dealt with annoying relatives, with greedy people, with narrow, petty people in the village, with people who admired her no end and ended up, like making enormous demands on her time and energy. All sorts of people, women in her household and children and relatives, her own relatives and brothers who were greedy. They just saw that our sister is a highly revered teacher, and rich and powerful people come to her and make her expensive gifts. Great, that's what attracted them, and they troubled her for it. And she was at the same time a guide to thousands of people from the neighboring big city of Calcutta, who would pour into her asking for spiritual advice and blessings and teachings. She was the guide and nurturer for this new monastic order, which we are all part of. She's the one who shaped it. And these very powerful men who were monks, who were disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they obeyed her without a single, murmur, without any conditions, unconditional obedience to her. They knew how powerful she was, who she was. So imagine that kind of life. And at the same time, all the struggles that she went through, a lot of struggles, a lot of pain and hardship. And yet she had never a complaint. She said, startling statement, "My child, I don't know what sorrow is." Sri Ramakrishna has established a picture of, has installed a picture of bliss in my heart. My heart is always overflowing with bliss. You think that kind of a life was a life of a lot of struggle and, very plain life compared to the kinds of life we lead today. But she was ever fulfilled. So that's the practical demonstration of what Advaita would mean in our lives. Swami Atmarupanji has used the example of 3 women, and one of them is the Holy Mother Sharada Devi, who is very much a part of our day. She was just there 100 years ago, so we can relate to her. The queen he talked about, Madalasa, that's ancient history, and it's difficult for us to relate to her. And even further back, if you go to the Rishi, she seems superhuman. But the Divine Mother, Ma Sharada, is somebody all of us can relate to. And that's how you practice it. The Queen Madalasa reminds me of another story of a queen. So this is the difference between how mystical realization and Advaita in daily life. The story goes like this. I just love this story. There was a kingdom long, long ago, and there was a king and a queen, and the queen was enlightened. She had non-dual realization. She was full-blown Jnani, realized, Jivan Mukta. Now, one day, the king asked her, "My dear, I see that you are always calm. Nothing seems to disturb you, and you're always happy and relaxed. And how do you do that? You don't get upset at anything, and you deal with everything so well." And she said, "Well, let me tell you that, she said, I was waiting. I was wondering, when would you ask?" So here is the thing, that we are actually not who we think we are. If I say who you are, let's say a king, you would say who I am, you think I'm a queen, but I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. We inquire into the meaning of the word I, what we did today. And then she shows that I am pure consciousness. And there's no problem there at that level. And the king was very impressed. And he said, wow, this is great. Let me think about this. Let me meditate and find this out for yourself. You take over the kingdom, my dear. I'm going to go and go into a retreat. So he goes to a forest. Of course, he's a king. So in the forest also, probably he has a palace or something. And he spends time there studying and meditating. And months pass until he becomes illumined, enlightened. He sees, I am consciousness. I'm not body and mind. And he's so overwhelmed and happy with this that he stays absorbed in that. I am the witness awareness. Then after some time, he has a question again. And he comes back to the kingdom, which his queen is running now. And he asks his queen, you know, my dear, you were right. And I'm glad to tell you that I followed your instructions. And now I too am enlightened. I have realized this and I am at peace. However, I just have one more question. And what's that question? He says, you have realized this long ago. And it's so delightful, so peaceful, so joyous. I just want to remain absorbed in it forever and ever. But then I thought, she knows all this and she has realized all of this. Then why is she not remaining absorbed in this? Why is she, being just your commonplace queen, going about her queenly duties and active in the world? Why doesn't she remain absorbed in samadhi, in consciousness herself? So that's what I wanted to ask you. You know this, but why are you not like me, that I want to remain away from everything and absorbed in bliss? And the queen said, I was waiting for you to ask this. So there is one more thing to learn, that what you realize by cutting up the world, body, mind, and remaining absorbed in your inner awareness, that very thing is this world also. You must not have this limitation that with eyes closed, I am Brahman. With eyes open, this is a world and a kingdom and so much trouble. No, 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 no. What is this world which we have withdrawn from? What is this body and the mind which I have stepped back from into my inner awareness? But what is all this? This is nothing but that same consciousness, same Brahman appearing in so many ways. These are all ornaments made of the same gold which you have discovered. And so this is the full application of non-duality, that it makes our day-to-day life here much, much better, like being a blessing to yourself and blessing to everybody else around you. That second part of it, we'll see tomorrow. That's why it doesn't stop. You might have thought that all that we studied today is great, so it should stop here. Who am I? I found out I am the implied meaning of the word you, the witness of body-mind, the witness of the world, and this one consciousness. Great, finished. No, it's not finished yet. That's why the other word, that, is here. That you are. So that has to come. We have to learn what is the meaning of the word that, and then the full meaning will dawn upon us. And that's tomorrow.